What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Can We Talk? This is your boy Eric. I'm here with the usual suspects, Shayna and Anthony. And we have a guest who's going to be a part of us for a little bit.
It's going to be a new usual
Who's going to be a new usual suspect. We got Kenya back.
Hello.
Kenya, what's going on? Welcome.
It's good, man. I'm glad to be with y'all. I'm excited for this month.
For real. And I know you're trying to tie in your podcast, your new podcast, Politicking. Right, and so when is that going to be? Well, I guess we're still trying to work it out.
We're still working it out, but hopefully coming soon. I've been in talks, and I'm just waiting on my time to shine. So I'll definitely let y'all know first.
That's awesome. It's exciting to have you, though. This is going to be a good month.
So
I'm looking forward to conversations.
What would your new show be about, and what would you contribute to Can We Talk?
Well, politicking already has kind of started. It was just more so like a YouTube channel, again, people just, at a round table talking about dialogues around social justice issues. I'm just bringing it into a podcast format because I think people feel more comfortable. It's more informal. It's more fun. And so just trying to take off and, dwindling down on costs, right?
Seriously, right.
Cost effective all 2019. But, just coming back and just trying to get more people at the table just because I feel like, it can be more consistent. I feel like with y'all, y'all already doing the thing. I just want to come in and kind of give my 2 cents and be able to just bring that vibe to y'all.
Don't take away my job now.
Not at all.
Anthony, you might have to take a couple of weeks off. We bring you back in. But we appreciate it. It's going to be fun. I'm excited for it. Any news over the past couple of weeks that y'all want to share? Anything personal going on happening in y'all lives?
I'm fundraising for my daughter's swim team. I'm gonna put the link under the comments.
I'm about to cash app you.
Yeah, that's
For
fine.
sure,
I've had a lot of people that just give me cash. Shout out to my homegirl Tasha, Latasha, because there's a Natasha. She also gave me money. Shout out to her too. she gave me money. Today's like I can't do the fees, so
Yeah, those fees will get expensive. So where you at right now? Where's the goal? Where have you reached?
Jordan's personal goal is $1,500.
Nice.
She's at $780 right now.
Okay.
So shout out to everybody that's donated. I really, really appreciate it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we got to definitely get that to 1,500 by the end of this episode. Everybody, by the end of this episode, let's do it.
2 weeks.
That's
and
what's
she
up.
had a swim meet yesterday. It was literally, this is her first season. So I guess it really don't mean nothing to say that this is the longest one I've ever been to because usually they split up the age groups. And this time they didn't.
Yeah.
So it was just really, it was hot. And then it was just really interesting to see how the little kids, how they were so bored, and what they were doing, dancing on the side of the pool. And it was just funny to watch them do it. But Jordan did it really good. She's getting faster. So, yeah, I'm proud of her. Proud of the rest of the team.
We got to bring Jordan on the show.
We got to bring her on
Wasn't that the goal? We was going to do that?
Yeah, we're going to do that. She busy. That's the thing. She busier than me.
It's like she got 2 jobs. For real.
That's awesome.
Oh, man, I got to talk about some movies that I watched and some TV shows.
Me
We
too,
talk about
man.
it later.
Me and my girl, we did some serious adulting over the weekend.
Okay.
We cooked our own fried chicken.
Wait, hold on, man. How old are you?
We used my mom's recipe, and it ended up pretty good.
This is the first time you cook fried chicken by yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
You know, man. I mean,
Oh my
I know
God.
how to cook a lot of things, but I've been trying to, I'm really making my transition to, being a, just adulting.
Yeah.
Learning how to cook traditional dishes by myself. I know it's not hard, but
Yeah,
I
it's
wanted
not
to do
hard.
it with my mom's nuance, and we succeeded.
Well, that's good. That's good, man. I'm just surprised. You 25, right?
Yeah. I know how to cook, man. I ain't, I'm no.
But you're using
bum.
the family recipe. This is like the special thing that you did.
Right, it was a special thing. I couldn't mess it up.
Yeah, I feel you.
Want me to give y'all some tips?
Yeah, give us the recipe. What's the special recipe she used?
So basically, after you wash the wings off or whatever, you dip
sauce.
them in buttermilk.
Oh.
And after you dip them in buttermilk, you put the seasoning salt on it or whatever, then the flour, and then you put them in the oil to fry, and it comes out great, man.
I know some people use egg.
Yeah,
Egg white,
I know
no?
people that use egg.
Yeah. So buttermilk.
She got that recipe from that book, The Help. You know that movie, The Help, the book. She got that recipe from that book.
Oh, that's what's up, man. We gotta tell her to bring some in so we can try it.
Just make your own, Eric.
You know
How
what?
old are you,
Buttermilk.
27? Make your own.
28, man. Buttermilk. I'm old, man. I'm old.
Oh, my God.
Not old, man.
Y'all. Well, Ken, you want to add anything? Because I got some stuff I got to get into that's been on my chest for a while, and this is this blackface.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on, y'all?
Gucci.
Not just Gucci, but the Virginia governor.
And then the then there's the Virginia governor, and then there's the lieutenant governor, and
Then
then the
Attorney
gentleman.
General.
He did blackface too. Like, what the fuck is going on?
What's
But
happening
are
in
y'all
this world?
surprised though? Like, are y'all really surprised?
No.
I mentioned this on my Facebook page.
I thought
that-
only 2 of them were blackface and one of them was inappropriate conduct.
Yeah,
harassment.
yeah.
Yep, the lieutenant governor is in trouble for rape and sexual misconduct,
Yes.
harassment. Yeah, so it's a mess in Virginia right now. It's crazy.
I was just like flabbergasted. Like, not flabbergasted, but this was a medical school yearbook.
Right.
Doctors. And then we always talk about the healthcare disparity between, black people and white people, and how when black people, no matter their socioeconomic status, they do not get good health care.
Yeah.
So is this got to be a part of it.
crazy.
It's got to be the reason why. Because how many hands did this yearbook pass through
Seriously.
in order for that picture to make it on the
You would
page?
think the school administration or somebody would have like, all right, hey, hold on, let's wait up. But apparently,
yearbook staff, like, hey man, we not like nobody along the line was like, we're not. This is what we're not gonna do.
but this was also the '80s though. They had a movie about blackface. What was it? Soul Brother.
So, brother,
That was a whole movie about a guy who got into law school and did blackface to get a scholarship, and people thought it was acceptable. So
Again, so are we surprised?
that's what. Yeah, that's what I'm like.
surprised
Nah,
to hear
really.
these
Yeah.
things anymore.
yeah, I'm with you with that, but I was just like, man, this is like, it's not a high school yearbook.
Right. This is your medical school,
This is medical school.
and then you got some corporations like Gucci, and then Prada. Prada had they issue back in December, where they're just blatantly using these. First off, who buy a sweater like that? That's a horrible sweater. I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, I've seen it.
It's terrible. Like, who did they make this for?
Right.
Who's
the
caught
point?
dead wearing that?
Who seriously, who wants to lift this all the way up over the, come on, it's a turtleneck with the mouth cut out with red lips. And they're like, oh, this is nothing wrong with that. No, that's not. Like, was there any person of color on the staff, to say, hey, we might want to not do this. This is kind of offensive. What's
and that's
going on?
the thing, like, we all know at least 1 or 2 people, black people that are into fashion design.
Yeah.
So, like, these people, they're not in the room, and they don't want them in the room.
That's true. Because my thing is, like, this shouldn't have made it through the design phase, like the conception phase. Like, I don't know.
It shouldn't have been signed off.
It shouldn't have been signed off. And it's just so out of tone and out of touch with just reality. And I know people are like, oh, everyone's so sensitive about this. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But yes, it is a big deal. Just the history of blackface, and especially being Black History Month. You think people do some research, do a little bit of, digging about the symbolism of blackface. And
So what are they gonna do about it though? Because I hear we protesting. We supposed to be protesting Gucci 9. I
Did
remember
we-
we were
I
protesting
can't protest
H&M.
nothing. I can't afford.
Hey,
What y'all think gonna happen though?
That's a
Actually-
good point too. Yeah.
protesting H&M was kind of hard, though.
See what I'm saying?
I did it. I didn't go to H&M for a long time.
I never been,
Shop
so
there. I
but-
didn't
Eventually
shop there.
Oh crap! What did H&M do?
Oh, this was a while ago. They had the little boy. He had like the cutest monkey in the
Oh yeah, okay,
the
yeah.
jungle.
I remember that now.
Jungle.
T-shirt. Yeah,
Just saying that we don't keep up with our protests anymore.
that's because we outraged about everything. Sometimes we
Listen.
kind of forget.
I think I'm 2 for 0. I never went to H&M, so when they were protesting, I'm like, all right, no change.
Yeah.
I didn't watch sports, so when they were protesting the NFL, I was like, all right, no change for me. So I'm 2 for 0. So
What about the Starbucks?
Right.
when did they do all that?
You forgot already. So when
oh,
did they do
you
that?
talking-
oh,
two
you're
of
talking about
those
the
two.
Man, I
forgot
know
about that
people
already?
so addicted to Starbucks. They was like, I don't care if they hand me my coffee in a Klan outfit. I'm
Nah.
still going.
No, no,
I was
Like,
more of a
I
Timmy
know.
Hose kind of guy though.
Yeah.
First off, Starbucks ain't even that good. It's
Too much.
It's overpriced.
It's way overpriced.
Too much sugar.
I personally like Big B over them.
I haven't seen a
But
Big
they
B
used
in a
to be
minute, though.
called Beaners.
Randy,
and
am
they
I
had
sitting
to
by
change
myself?
their name.
Does it look like I'm sitting by myself on the camera?
You are.
Kind of, yeah.
Oh wow, you making
You're the
me,
only
making
one
me
in
even more
4K.
introverted.
Anthony don't want to be next to anybody.
You and Shayna are in the same camera.
Okay.
But-
Well, I'm in 4K too.
The empty chair between you.
We
is
got an
me.
invisible guest today. It's all right. But yeah,
Shut
it's,
up, man. Pipe down.
it's outrageous with what's going on today. You would think that, some higher up or executive, first off, they need to hire more people of color in those positions. That's one of the main reasons we see in this. But I also think people who are kind of from the community who are in those positions, they may be just afraid to speak up due to, they don't want to feel isolated. They want to feel like they're, ostracized, whatever. So there's a lot of
Goes back
factors to
to
look at.
labor. We need labor protection.
We need, seriously. So what can be done from this? Like, what is going to happen to Gucci, if anything?
Nothing.
First off,
We're not the number one consumer of Gucci. It's
We're not.
like, isn't it like Asians or something like that? Like, we're not.
I mean-
So they're gonna, even if like black people just stop today buying Gucci, they'll be fine.
I wouldn't say we're the number one consumer, but I think we're the number one influencer. Look at all the imagery that you see, rappers, whoever wearing Gucci headbands, Gucci
Man's
shirts.
gonna have to change his name.
Yeah.
Somebody said that.
He's gonna have to call himself Wop Man now.
Somebody
Seriously.
said everywhere them call itself Fubu Man.
And so just off of our culture alone, it's influencing so many people to buy these products. And it's like, all right, we got to do something about this. Like, there's no way they should get off and say, oh, we apologize. We didn't know that this was offensive. Like, you knew.
Yeah.
You knew it was offensive. But then you still got, money is behind it. It's a big, well-named brand, high-name brand, high-fashion brand. And I don't think anything's going to truly happen, unfortunately.
Now, did y'all see where Joy Behar admitted that she did blackface?
Oh, my God. Joy did, too? Dog.
But she didn't do it as dark.
Still.
So a lot of people are like, well, it's not really black. But she admitted that she did it. She dressed up like an African-American woman for Halloween, and she did it a couple of shades darker than her skin tone. And they actually showed the picture. And a lot of people are like, well, it's not that dark. But to me, I feel like people are disregarding light-skinned black people when they do that because, like, are they to be mocked? Just you can't mock dark-skinned black people, but you can mock light-skinned black people?
We can go down the line about that. I mean, you got Ted Danson, you got Jimmy Fallon. You got a lot of people that have done blackface.
And what was that movie? Thunder? No,
Tropic
Thunder. Yeah, you
Thunder,
got
yeah.
Robert. You got
Tropic
Robert Downey Jr.
Thunder.
got nominated.
But-
nominated for that.
But
That's crazy.
But I guess he was parodying, like, those method actors.
Yeah, of
the
course.
ones that
Still.
gain weight, lose weight,
That
get
film-
buck, like, for movie roles.
Yeah, that film is a satire. I just think it's hilarious that he got nominated out of everybody.
Yeah, that's kind of.
He should have nominated Tom Cruise for that movie. You know how I feel about
Oh,
Tommy.
yeah.
I didn't even know that was Tom Cruise
Exactly.
to the end.
He was acting.
But the crazy thing though is that even the Democratic Party, who we talked about, the whole political thing, the Democratic candidates, you would think that they would be ones who know the history of this.
Not at all.
And that just shows you got to vet our people. We got to vet these people.
But then I heard
You got
too,
to.
because I watch my little late night political shows, and one of the ideas is that it's random. It's such a coincidence that all these Democrats are getting thrown under the bus at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So even that, like, could it be a ploy? Could this be
Could
like
be.
some Republican get back?
That could be Donald's way of
I
be
want
like,
to be you when I grow up, man. You watch late night political shows. I got to be up on that game.
what do you watch? You don't watch late night
No,
politics?
of course not. I watch Darian Long, kick-ass mall cop on YouTube.
God. But I do think that there is some type of, not conspiracy, but something's going on in the background where maybe it's just to get the heat off of Trump a little bit or put it on, get the heat off Republicans, that they bring this stuff up. But even still, if it is brought up, it should have been brought up anyway. Like, you just got to vet your candidates. Like, there's no way they should have made it that far and got elected without this knowing. And that kind of brings up a greater sort of fear. It was like, what other dirt do they have on other people? Like, especially you got all these people running for president now. You got Kamala Harris coming. You got Cory
It's like
Booker.
300 and something people running for president.
It's way too many. You got the whole squad.
Hey,
It's like-
man, we live in a country of choice. So
That's too many
That's true.
choices.
Hey, you from bound to find somebody you like.
my fear is that Biden makes it to the election, and we hear something crazy about Biden, like some crazy like sexual harassment thing comes up, or
I'm going to speak on this in my 2 cents, but I hear exactly what you're saying.
yeah, but that was something.
I feel like, as far as Biden, you co-drafted the crime bill. You don't get to say sorry and then run for president.
Yeah,
Hillary did.
and she
Well,
lost.
and she lost.
Right.
And
She
she lost.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. I do want to talk about the State of the Union. Did y'all watch it?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, what
I
you
heard my
think?
mama yelling at the TV.
He's such an entertainer, man.
It's so true. Like, he covers up. He says some ridiculous stuff and then covers up with, "Oh, we got this cancer patient kid who's here with us." And it's like, how can you be mad at that? Because there's a kid right here who has cancer. Of course, you're going to be, clapping and applauding. But then you just said horrible things about Hispanics, that you're going to kind of gloss over. So yeah, it was a mess. He does. You could tell he's going off script for a few things he said, and it just solidified that he's crazy. Like, he's a crazy guy. Like, what'd you think?
I mean, I just sometimes when he talks, like I hear it. People are angry with the divisive things that he says. How he can go from, like you said, something so bringing us together, kumbaya. We're talking about, curing cancer.
Right.
Like I've heard it, but it's like when he talks about it, it seems like you can believe what he's saying a little bit, right? And then he goes left around like, hey, this can't get done though with all these criminal investigations happening. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
It's a con man.
you have people who are kind of on two different ends of the spectrum. I always look at the audience. I think that the best thing to do during State of the Union is to look
seeing
at
their
the
faces.
audience
Oh my God.
and to always just see how divided we are as a country regardless. Because let's just be real, when President Obama was doing it too, like the other side was applauding and the other side was sitting. Like, we're never happy as people. You'll never have a president that everybody is going to get up and clap at the same time, except for women's rights. I think that was the only time the whole room got up.
But then someone said, like, for Obama, someone called him a liar in the middle of the address.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we are kind of hypocritical in the way that we say, you need to represent, or you need to at least be respectful of the president and his ideas. But like, no, when the shoe was on the other foot, they did the same exact thing. So I'm like, whatever. I'm going to hate them still. It's all mine. But
y'all want to move to hip hop corner?
you know what? Let's do it. Any good hip hop out?
I tried to listen to Boogie, but I kept going back to Sada Baby.
Who's that?
You don't know Sada
You
Baby?
don't know Sada Baby?
I only know about it because the young.
You know the Block Party song?
Sada
Dang.
Baby, Bartier Bounty.
You missing out.
He's a
Okay.
Detroit rapper.
What's
And
your
it sounds like Detroit, like it's Detroit. But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, like, he's not like a lyricist, but I like it. I like Sada Baby. And he be dancing.
Yeah, that one video. I like Detroit rap. My biggest pet peeve is that they never on beat when they rap. It's like always a little bit off beat, like slightly off.
Who are you basing this off of?
Just a lot of the rappers I listen to.
Grizzly.
It's like the
Talking about
cadence
the
is
new ones or
a lot of the new ones. Like the cadence is a little bit off. Like it's kind of like a little bit laid back in terms of the way they rap, and it doesn't align on the 4/4 measure.
maybe?
But that's my observation because I like music and I'm a musician. So.
What do you think of the surprising revelation with 21 Savage? That he's
I'm
British,
like, I don't want anybody to be locked up.
right?
And I thought it was convenient, like during Super Bowl weekend, like during the Super Bowl. But also, I'm like, so all you gotta do is act like a buffoon, and people will think you from here.
Didn't he say he was from the A?
Literally, he'd been here for like 15 years since he was a kid.
I looked him up on another podcast because another podcast was talking about him. He was born in London and moved to Atlanta when he was 7 years old.
But why?
It was 7.
Yeah.
So he's pretty much American. For the most
Why?
part.
Why did I want to know why? Why did you move from there to here?
That's
You
his
mad
business,
about
ain't
that?
it?
No,
Right.
I just want to know, like what
his
made
parents,
you?
who knows?
Like, what made his family pick up and move from there to here? Because, like, they are, I'm not saying there's not racism there. I don't live there.
Yeah.
But, they've been interracially dating for like 150 years. So they are more progressive than, say, the United States.
Could have been opportunities.
America
could have
has
been.
this false promise. We got this false promise of better wages, better environment, better everything. We think we're the most powerful country out there. We're not, and not anymore. So we got false promise.
But why they got to lock him up like that though? Like, it's not like he's a threat. It's not like he's done anything to hurt somebody, physically hurt somebody.
But from my understanding, his visa expired on his parents' watch.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get his paperwork, right. So I don't think he should be deported.
Yeah, because if it happened when you're a minor, like it's up to your parents to kind of handle that situation. So now if you're legal age, can you do it yourself? Like I don't know what the process is for that, but
So
he ain't never paid no taxes.
I'm sure he paid.
I'm sure he paid
Yeah, I'm sure he paid
taxes.
taxes. But
I'm pulling for him. He has kids. I want him to be out, be with his children. Travis Scott NFL performance. Did you see it?
No.
Big Boy? None of them?
I saw
did
like
see
the
Big Boy.
memes. I saw PETA. They talked about the coat that Big Boy had on.
He only did like 2 songs though. It really
Yeah,
was
it was quick.
one.
It was
like
one
I was
song.
kind of sad by how long he was on.
I was like,
kinda
where
hurt my
Andre?
feelings.
I was looking for Andre 3000. Like, come on, bro.
But Super Bowl in Atlanta, is Big Boy your first choice?
That's Outkast, man. I mean,
love
why not?
Outkast.
No one else would have.
Is he your first choice?
You know, T.I. wasn't gonna go,
Well, who should be? Should it be T.I.?
but he's not gonna go, especially with the whole situation.
Who should be the first choice in your opinion?
I mean, I love Big Boy. I love Outkast. But, like, what's popping right now? Who's popping right now out
you
of
got the
Atlanta?
Migos. Yeah.
Maybe they said no, though. Maybe the first choice didn't want to go. Because Cardi B dropped out, you know, and a lot of people just didn't do it.
I'm sure they performed at those after parties.
Yeah.
Something like
a
that.
lot
Yeah,
of
they had
people,
to.
they went to, like, Meek Mill. He went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I missed his party. I did see Jeezy, though. Jeezy was down there. Payroll was in the building, too, so that was pretty cool.
Was Gucci there? No.
You know, I didn't see any flyers with Gucci on it. I was actually in Atlanta for the
Oh,
Super
you was?
Bowl.
Oh,
yeah.
shoot. So you was there. You
For
saw
the
all of
culture,
them.
got to see the Trap Museum.
Nice.
How is it?
It's actually pretty cool. It's a really simple concept. Like, literally a building just with, like, trap history. I think that's, like, amazing, though.
Mm.
Yeah. So it was
That's
a lot
awesome.
of
Hey,
first choices to pick out the A. So I definitely...
That's
So is
awesome.
it like was it from a music perspective, or was it just from like just the history in general, like with like drug dealing and music? Or
It's mixed.
okay,
Yeah, so like when you walk into grandma's living room with grandma on the couch. Like, welcome to the Trap Museum.
Oh,
Interesting.
wow.
Yeah, it's very interesting with all the drugs on the table and things like that. They got like the kitchen, you know, you can see them cooking up and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they're not doing it, but you can
Right.
see the stuff on the counter,
So they
right?
cooking right
And
now.
all of that. So
Who came up with that? Who created that?
I want to say, I think that's T.I. and that one, Trap Museum. And then I know that 2 Chainz
Chainz
had
has-
the one thing, but that wasn't up when I was there. I didn't get to see that.
That was a pink house, right?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh, that's awesome.
The cars in the Trap
That
Museum.
is interesting when we think about it.
What was your opinion of the Sweet Victory tease during the halftime show?
Sweet.
The
The SpongeBob joke. You know when SpongeBob performed at that concert in the show.
I think it was well. I liked it. It's kind of cheesy though.
You're
A
gonna
little
go the whole way, man.
For real.
You're gonna do it the whole way, man. With the whole get up and everything,
real.
and just be ready to just.
I didn't care for the
Go in.
little fireball that came out the sky and just landed into the stage. It's kind of stupid.
The
But,
internet comes up with some strange things. I'm telling you, because they kept pushing for him to do that. I'm like,
yeah.
okay.
But I guess the Dallas Stars performed the whole scene from SpongeBob during their intermission.
That's hilarious.
That's hilarious.
I personally didn't really care that much for the game or
I
just
heard
the
the
Super Bowl
game
at all.
was lit. I mean, I was at a Super Bowl party, but I ain't pay attention. Like, I can't watch football.
Yeah.
Like,
It's so boring.
not that it's boring because
Can't
I
do it.
love football, but like knowing what I know about how the injuries, I can't
Yeah.
watch it.
Yeah.
Shayna, you too woke to enjoy things, man.
Yes, I am.
You
She's
point
sitting
out those-
thinking about
Enjoy
concussion.
things.
I'm thinking
I
about
be like that
it's like,
too.
oh, I'm watching a car accident every 4 seconds, every 40
Right.
seconds, every play.
Like, oh, in 15 years they ain't gonna be able to walk. Like,
What were your favorite commercials?
oh shoot. I feel like the commercials were they weren't memorable this year.
They're not as
was
fun
good.
as they used to be.
It was one about with Google. It was like the kids, no Microsoft, the kids with disabilities. That was a pretty good one. And they had like the little remote controls that fit their disability. That was nice.
What about the Game of Thrones one?
Oh, that was funny.
That was my favorite one. You thought it was a Bud Light commercial to start, but
Yes, yes. And then,
then it's the mountain, and they don't show it, but
I
they
was
imply
like, what
that
does
he's
this have
crushing
to
his
do
eyeballs
with
out.
beer?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
This is Game
but
of
does
Thrones.
Game of Thrones really need a commercial?
It was clever, and then everybody died at the end because in Dragonfire that was the best.
There's-
And think about it, kill two birds with one stone. You got Bud Light. They got their commercial. Game of Thrones got their the preview.
They split the cost.
Yeah, they probably did. Too.
There's one Super Bowl ad from the past that could have been better than what it was, but they just half-assed it.
Okay.
Bud Light brought back Spud McGee. It brought back that dog. It was from one of the past Super Bowls. You know the dog that used to promote Budweiser.
Oh
Spuds
yeah,
McKenzie.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
Spuds
brought
McKenzie.
him back, and it was just silly. I was like, y'all could have did this in a way funnier way.
Yeah, it was a Burger King commercial. It was kind of weird. It had who was the guy? It was a guy just eating a hamburger. What was his name? He's a famous artist. Yeah, it wasn't that important. It's cool.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
but-
You tried.
But Anthony, man, let's hear your 2 cents.
All right, man.
for today.
I've been doing a lot of catch up, folks. I've been I caught up with Killing Eve, the first season of Killing Eve. Very good. I enjoyed that show. Sandra Oh and Jodie Comer did their thing. I watched the first 3 seasons of Billions.
Yeah.
I got this. The glasses are on for a reason. They're on for a reason. Paul Giamatti and Damon Lewis are great actors. Billions is good. And over the weekend, I went to go see Cold Pursuit with Liam Neeson.
Oh my God.
we
forgot to talk about him. Oh my.
Yeah. I'm gonna get into it, man. You know, I had to run all night, you know, to see this little gem here. I know a lot of people are very,
I'm
taken
disappointed
with
in you.
some of the things he's said recently. But let me just talk about Cold Pursuit for a second. So it's the typical Liam Neeson film. It's a revenge thriller. The main guy, his son is killed through a forced overdose, and he's a snowplow drifter, and he takes revenge on the thugs who did it. I gotta say though, the one thing that differentiates this movie from the rest is that it's odd balance of like comedy and action. Like it finds comedy in like the weirdest places. It's like if Liam Neeson was in Fargo, but I don't mean that in a good way though, because the director he's remaking his Norwegian film into English language. Okay. So I guess Norwegian comedy is a little different from American comedy.
Makes sense.
So like it finds humor in the strangest places. The violence is good. The action is good. I give it a 2.5 or a 3 out of 5.
I'm disappointed you saw it though. After all that happened.
Well, I gotta talk about that actually though.
You want to talk about it now, or do you want to keep going through your reviews?
No, that was it.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about Liam Neeson, y'all. Like his comments.
He a liar.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Liar about what?
I don't think that happened. Like that whole.
But why bring
black
it up?
Brute to make it seem like he was like they ask him like where do you draw your inspiration from, or why is it that you're so good at these type of revenge movies, and then he said he brought up that story, but like that whole black rapist Brute thing, like
what evidence do you have that he's lying though?
What evidence do we have that actually happened?
Because why did he bring it up right now at this moment?
Well, they asked him about the film. They asked him about the revenge thriller. And he said, like, well, I can relate because once upon a time, I had a friend who was raped by somebody, and I had a lot of anger. And I asked him, like, do you know what they look like? And she said, a black person. So he said he had anger in him. He said he was walking in front of a bar for about, like, he said a week or a half maybe, with a blackjack or a Kosh, waiting to just bash somebody's head in who walked in on him because he was so angry.
No, he didn't say somebody. He said a black bastard.
Right.
Yeah, how he felt at the time.
The common denominator was black, not rapist. He didn't go looking for a rapist.
He said a black bastard. Yeah, how he felt at the time.
And then why would he ask what color were they to her? Like it really
matters. Well,
matters.
I mean, if you want somebody to describe, if you've been assaulted, you want somebody to describe how they look. Now, I get that. But the whole thing, like, come on. I don't believe that.
My take is, it wouldn't make sense for him to just, like, no one asked him this. He told us this of his own accord.
Yeah, he should have kept it to himself.
Well, yeah, if you're a publicist, you would tell him to keep it to himself. But I think, like, the difference between something like this and something else is this is somebody who could have went that route but, like, didn't. And Ian looks back on it with shame and regret and horror.
My thing is, where did this happen? Did this happen in Ireland? Or did this happen in America?
He said it happened in Ireland.
Well, then you know where the niggas at. Like, if you want to smoke with niggas, then you gon' find some. That's another reason why I think you full of shit.
He was walking in front and back in front of a bar. To me, Liam Neeson isn't canceled to me because I feel like there's a difference between somebody who did something 40 years ago or could have did something 40 years ago and they look at it with regret and shame. And there's somebody that talks about something they did years ago and be like, yeah, I did it, so, whatever.
I mean, I didn't hear the regret or shit. I mean, yes, he was like.
He said it though. He said I'm ashamed of this. He said it in his interview.
I'm a comment reader, which I need to stop doing for my own personal mental health.
I don't know.
But I wasn't surprised because I read Stormfront every now and then about the amount of people who think like that. I don't see nothing wrong with what he did.
Right.
What does he have to apologize for? I
see something wrong with it.
They're like, what does he have to apologize for?
He was at a fork in the road. I see something wrong with trying to go the other route, but if you don't go the other route, that's for the better. And if you realize why you didn't go the other route, that's even better.
I just think it's in a nutshell, his whole mindset in that moment. Even if you're upset and you're acting off emotion, my first thing wouldn't be I'm going to wait outside a bar for a week just until somebody says something.
You're not always rational when you're in fury or anger. It's just the usual agree to disagree.
I
I
guess.
just got one side. Y'all got y'all's.
I guess.
I see both sides.
But the whole black brute rapist thing has destroyed entire towns.
Right.
That's
Kill
why he don't
innocent
get
people.
a pass from me.
Dude.
Well, it's not
And the
giving them a
children
pass.
of those affected by that, they're still around, and their children's children.
Even Emmett Till, like this kid, boy
And
who
she
was
admitted that she lied.
right. And so this is problematic. It
We're
has
talking
so
about
many
Liam
consequences.
Neeson, though.
But still, I'm saying it kind of ties into it. Like you have someone who, a black child, man, whatever it is, who's criminalized and looked as subhuman because of an action that happened.
He whistled at a white woman. It's horrible that he got.
And so, I mean, I understand he's not from America, so he
Yeah.
may not understand the context of some of the racial things, but he knows. You can't plead ignorance on that case. And I know he's
But
changing
it
his
wasn't.
ways.
It wasn't ignorance though. He said it
I know.
himself. He was coming from an angry, horrible place.
Well, he's canceled.
He admitted he was wrong. I mean, to y'all, he's
I ain't
canceled
watching.
to y'all.
Man, I'm good. What I mean,
It's
what
gonna
what
blow
did
over,
you-
man. He ain't gonna suffer from this.
So, what are y'all thoughts? I mean, does anyone agree with Anthony?
I don't not see his perspective. I see both sides. I just think that I'm not gonna get wrapped. I was watching Taken the other day by accident. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna get caught up by. I'm just not surprised. That's all I'm saying. And it's
Yeah.
just like certain things. Like if I was to really take on this type of attitude, I would have to cancel every person who isn't of color that has done something that
Man, we
was
would be
shameful.
butt naked
I
and
was
walking.
Oh,
Living in the rock.
I
Like,
told y'all, if y'all gonna cancel him, cancel Marky Mark. Like,
I have canceled
yeah.
Marky Mark. I don't eat at Whataburger, and I do not watch his movies.
Oh, Mark Wahlberg, what did he do?
Oh,
Please-
he had
please
two
enlighten
white
me.
supremacist terrorist incidents.
Oh, MG.
Oh God.
So no, I don't fuck with him.
And he's from
either.
Boston, so and Boston is notoriously racist as a city. So,
I still fucks with Liam. That's just my take. You know, that's it.
all right, let's move. So, what else did you see? What? Anything else?
That was my 2 cents, man.
All
I
right.
watched Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh, that's a good movie. Great movie. Oh my God.
Say what you said on Facebook.
I said it was the Asian version of Coming to America.
OMG, and I love that movie.
It was
I
the
had
Asian
that-
version of Coming to
I
America.
actually got emotional during that movie. I'm like,
I did cry.
I'm like, this is
I
touching.
did cry.
Like the little the wedding scene with the water rolling down.
I wanna go
sorry.
That
watch
was
it.
that. I'm like, this shit is so baller. Like, oh my god, like the wedding,
good.
the engagement party. Like,
Aquafina's in that movie, right?
She's funny.
yeah, I'm not a fan of
She's.
her.
I like her. I like her. Oh, did anyone see Russian Doll
I
on
did
Netflix?
I will watch it.
Oh my God, y'all gotta
Did
see
we
it.
talk about abducting in planes? Oh, we did.
Y'all gotta see Russian Doll.
I didn't.
It's amazing.
I will start. I started Luther with Idris Elba.
Okay.
It's a pretty solid show. It's a solid British crime drama. You know, Idris does well in the lead role. He's a detective that's haunted by a past case. Got a little bit of mental issues, but it flows well.
I love British shows. They get right to the point.
So they
Season
have like
be
6-7 episodes in the season. Like yes,
No, 6-7 episodes. It's like 2.5 seasons.
for real. So I guess let's move on because I know we got a big discussion today about Black history. We're gonna let Kenya go ahead and start your fact. Your
Oh
2-minute
yeah, I
fact.
can start out with the fact.
Yeah.
I think the fact is cool though because this is something I didn't learn until later in life, and it's just like I question all the time why didn't I learn this stuff as a kid. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So our famous Black History fact of the day: Detroit.
Okay.
Known. The Walk to Freedom was a mass march during the Civil Rights Movement. On June 23rd, 1963, in Detroit, Michigan, it drew crowds of an estimated 125,000 people. This was known as the largest civil rights demonstration in nation's history up to that date. And for most of us, we know about the Walk on Washington, which this was kind of like their, I don't want to say like their motto or they tried to go out to test it, but this was actually that. And I think that that's such a great, interesting fact that people don't even know happened right here in Detroit on Woodward.
Wow.
To the Kobo.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for that fact.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into the discussion of Black History Month. And the first question that we want to throw out there is, do we consider Black History Month still to be like a thing? Like, you know, for me, I'm like, it's more than just 1 month. It should be taught in every, throughout the year.
Yeah.
What do y'all think?
I'm with the age-old quote. Every month is Black History Month to me.
Yeah. What about y'all? I'm sure.
I think it's still a necessity because they always teach it whenever our children or where we learn American history. It's always taught separately from Black history.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, you know, education-wise, like, we've done a terrible job. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Of separating our histories because, you know, you have people who are, like, completely confused. Like, I dated this guy who loved Malcolm X, but he loved Thomas Jefferson, too. He was equally upset. I'm like, how can you like the both of these? Like, how? Like, it's because of what, like, we learn about Thomas Jefferson in the history books, and then Black History Month, we learned about Sally Hemings. You know, something like, I feel like that should be intertwined. Like, we shouldn't teach it separately. I don't think slavery should be a paragraph. It should be, I think we should teach whole, like, semesters of American slavery.
Like Black
And
history is American history.
Right. Yes.
Essentially. It's world history, but, you know, that's a whole nother.
Yeah. I mean, but
That's a good way to look at it.
I mean, but obviously you have textbooks that are being written by those in the dominant culture, and so it's not going to sort of tell the story of anyone else except for, you know, those who they think are important figures. So it's needed. I mean, it's something that we can't get rid of because a lot of people won't know. Like, if it wasn't for this month, like, a lot of kids, honestly, there's some things I learned, even the facts that Kenya said today. I wouldn't have known that if I didn't have her to tell me. And so there's a lot of ignorance out there in terms of just how Black people have contributed to society, specifically American society. So I think it's definitely needed, and it's something that at some point, hopefully, we can get to the point where it's not just 1 month and it's taught just in our curriculum. You know, it's a standard part of American history. But it's not currently, so.
But when we were growing up, it seemed like Black History Month, I mean, because I hear it, like, it's not taught as it should be, but it seemed like Black History Month was a thing, at least for when I was in grade school.
Yeah.
And I don't have any kids and stuff, but I know, like, is that a thing still in school? Because it's like, I hear it sometimes, and usually when I hear it, it's in more, like, affluent community. Like, I'm in DPSCD here and there, and I don't really see, like, how it used to be, like, a thing. Like, you got posters on the wall, you learning, like, I don't see that. So I'm wondering, like, is it a thing in school now? Like, are young people having, like, big Black history?
Like, last year, it was like the school, my daughter's school flooded. So, you know, they were displaced. But they had their Black History program in March. But it was like 90s music. Like, little kids singing 90s music. Like, it wasn't. When I did a Black History, I went to a Catholic school. We did a Black History program. It was, we talked about Kwanzaa. So each grade had a different principle, and the music teacher wrote like an original song about that particular principle, and then there was like sketches and skits and stuff like that. So I'm like, where is that at? Like, they just singing TLC.
I also think that schools kind of diverts like the surface level conversations. Like, it's all about, you know, Martin Luther King and maybe Booker T. Washington and stuff like that. They don't really delve into the history in depth. And I think that's kind of where we need to do a little bit better. I mean, I think that, yes, it's important to know those prominent historical figures, but they're not the only story to be told. Right?
I go to the library a lot. And, man, they have 20 kids' books on Martin Luther King.
20.
2 on Malcolm X. 1 on Toussaint Louverture. 1 on Ida B. Wells.
Wow.
And I feel like, man, Ida B. Wells, like, man, Ida B. Wells was a writer. Like, she is like the pinnacle of Black journalism.
Yeah.
And they have 1 children's book.
I remember hearing something about how basically society has hijacked the story of Martin Luther King.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's one of those things where obviously they want us to sort of be in that area of you know, the peaceful, you know, non-resistance type thing. And unfortunately, I think, as you see, there's 20 books about him because that's kind of where they want us to sort of idolize in terms of our history.
And that is the narrative. He was a whole man, a total man. He had more than one speech. Yeah. He had letters from the Birmingham jail. He had other speeches. But that you know, and then because I did, you know, get a couple of books, and before I read books to my daughter, I read them myself, and they like, you know, like the strength, the nonviolence, but they never really talk about like what was required, like why did he need the strength? Because of terrorism. Yeah. He countered terrorism with nonviolence. Now you may not agree with that, but I think a lot of times like we lying to our kids when we frame it in that way. So I got the 2 books, and I'm like, I'm not reading her these books.
Yeah.
And not to even talk about how he still had people protecting him.
Yeah, he had guns all around him. He didn't have a gun himself, but he had riders. Yeah, this nonviolent stuff will get you killed. You read that book, he had guns all around him.
And the fact we don't really read either, like we hear these speeches and we don't really go and look at them ourselves, because even with I Have a Dream, like in there he's talking about economic freedom. Like, and people don't even read it. Like, oh, we get stuck on, I have a dream. Like, no, this is
they get to the little black boys and little, you know, little white
living
girls playing together.
Yeah.
And that's it, What do you all think? I think personally, Black History Month has turned into this, like, marketing ploy, you know, the companies like McDonald's use to just try to increase their sales. Personally. I mean, I don't want to be look at it from a negative perspective, but I don't see where companies are truly taking this as an opportunity to educate people. It's more so, all right, we're going to put a couple black faces on there, put some urban music in the background, and sell this product.
Which is what they do anyway.
which is what they do.
They do all year round.
Where do you specifically see this?
Do you remember seeing like the McDonald's Black History 365 commercials?
You only see it during Black History Month.
Only during Black History Month. And it's like just like the imagery is just all sort of like young, urban, black kids, and it's all just sort of like, you can tell it seems just so artificial. It's like, probably wasn't that many black people in a row when they created it. And personally, I just think that these things have become just a selling and marketing tool that they use to just make more money. That's it.
You could look at it as that. You could also look at it as lack of understanding. You probably don't have a lot of black people in the room when you're pitching something like that.
You don't?
You know, so you're just looking at it from like, okay, let's just put some black people on the wall and let's just leave it at that. But, of course, it goes deeper than that. There needs to be a level of understanding. That's the main thing here. If we had understanding, it wouldn't be limited to just 1 month. It wouldn't just be called Black History, right? It would be called American History.
Well, doing some work in that field, doing some D&I work, diversity inclusion work in that field, I can tell you that, yes, that's a problem in terms of black voices in the room. There's just a general sense of, as you said, like, all right, as long as we have 1 or 2 people, you know, from the community kind of there, you know, that's good enough. Or we put some faces there, that's good enough. But it's all done. But and you could look at it from any industry. You know, it's a problem with black representation or representation from people of color in fields all across the industry, not just advertising, not just marketing, but in medical and education and law, all over. So I think it's one of those things where it takes an understanding of the systems that led to this and sort of just building that awareness. But a lot of times people in power, they want to stay in power, so they don't really care.
So they don't teach that.
Right.
Because I feel like we wouldn't have as many shitty white children if they knew if this was something that was a part of their education. Because they would know, like, hey, like, this is what it is. Like, this is what it was, and this is how this country came to be.
Yeah. But again, if you're sitting from a position of privilege, does it benefit you to know that?
I feel like the upliftment of the black community will benefit everybody. It will benefit this country as a whole.
But we're such an individualistic society. Like, it's all about me. I'm about to win at the expense of anybody else. Like, I don't care what your background is or whether us collectively lifting each other up. I don't care if it benefits everyone. I'm just looking out for myself. And I think we sort of have politicians and people who kind of have the same attitude, and that's just going to permeate throughout every part of a society, because that's just how it is.
I'm thankful for the institutions. Like, there was a place, Charles H. Wright Museum, that was around when I was younger, and we would go there too.
It's still there. Dilla Day today. Dilla Day.
Oh yeah, they do the art and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thankful for institutions like that, because that carries a sense of black history with it, you know, year round.
Oh, for sure.
And we need institutions like that for the kids to know where they come from and know their history instead of just getting it from like one paragraph in a history book.
Man, you ain't been to the museum until you walk through with Jermon Jordan. He is the local historian. But I rode in the car with him one time on the way down there. He's telling me about the Jeffries Freeway, and I've been to Charles H. Wright plenty of times, walked through that exhibit, but when you walk through with somebody like that's a historian, and they take their craft seriously and their knowledge seriously, and they know how to relay that information to people of all groups, it opens you. I learned stuff that I never knew before. So shout out to him.
Wow.
That's very true, too. It do matter on your tour guide, because I've been to the Charles H. Wright Museum multiple times, and I'll never forget the time I went with my mentor group in 7th grade, and it was this lady who brought us to tears. I had never been in tears, and I still haven't to this day been in tears going through the Charles H. Wright Museum. But that passion, being a historian and being able to really tell that story and getting you connected, it's a different feeling when you got somebody who really understands it and can connect you.
Definitely. And I do recommend everyone, if you go to D.C., go to Smithsonian's African American History Museum. It's an amazing, amazing place. It's just
give yourself some time.
It's a long. Because it was 5 or 6 levels.
Yeah, it's a lot of information.
A ton of information. It sort of each level has touches on a different aspect of Black history. I think the top level is music and
it's more
art.
Contemporary,
Yeah,
right?
contemporary at the top level. But yeah, definitely do the tour, because it's gonna open your eyes just to show you sort of the nuance within the story of the Black experience. And I think that's what we miss out on, just the nuance. We aren't, obviously we're a community who has similar experiences, yes, but all these experiences, it doesn't define us in the same way. We didn't have the same things that shape us. And I think that seeing that and sort of seeing people's obstacles and overcoming their specific, going through their specific journeys, does kind of shed light on just who we are, our struggle, our ability to survive, our strength as a community. So I highly recommend, if you do go, give yourself an hour to 2 hours.
No, you need longer than
you might
that.
need you might need a half a day, yeah.
An hour is about to close, and when they about to close, they about to close.
For real. No, I remember I kind of snuck in too, because I didn't have tickets. And the lady, I was just like, hey, I'm here and visiting DC for the day. She's like, all right, come on in.
And shout out to the schools in the city, the African-centered schools that actually are still teaching our kids this type of stuff. It's so important. And I think it go beyond just knowing. It's an empowering, piece when you can grow up and know, these people were doing all of these great things and, before and after all that they had to go through. And I think that that's the part that gets me, because you have a whole generation of young people growing up feeling like they just come from slaves.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
My thing is, there's nothing wrong from coming from slaves. We built this country.
Right.
This country would not be what it is today if it was not for the enslavement of Africans. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that, but I did before I read The Half Has Never Been Told. I'm like, man, I'm Black. Slavery is only a part. We have this long history before we got here, and da-da-da-da-da. But when I read The Half Has Never Been Told, it made me proud. Man, I come from slaves. I come from sharecroppers.
Yeah.
They endured a lot. This country was built off of their bodies, off of their labor. So, I did gain a new pride after reading that book. I only read that book maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
But I just wouldn't. I'm not calling them slaves. They were enslaved.
They
people.
were enslaved. They were enslaved. You're absolutely
who
right.
Came from kings and queendoms,
Yeah,
and then came here, went through that process, and then became politicians and inventors.
You're absolutely right. Words are very important.
They are.
So, I do need to change the way that I come from slave. No, I came from the enslaved. So you're absolutely right.
That's why I don't use the term minority anymore. That's
Crazy,
Man,
right?
that includes everybody. It includes everybody.
Depending on what environment you in.
yeah, because you're shaping yourself. You're shaping your expectations from a negative view, that you're less than someone else. So I'm always careful with saying the words I use in the sayings. That I'm using to describe people. But y'all, this is a discussion that in terms of Black history, there's so much more that we can learn. Especially me personally, I need to take a time to read more books, learn more about the history of the people. And any recommendations that you have? I know, because Shayna, you read a lot
Would
I
you
need to
say
get a
Anthony
list.
too woke to enjoy life?
I need you to recommend me like a list of things I should read.
Can't take her nowhere.
That's gonna be good.
Well, of course, The Half Has Never Been
Yep.
Told. One of the books that I feel like I learned the most from was Jackie Robinson's autobiography. It's called Never Had It Made. It's a short book. I feel like maybe it was about 200 pages. Short book, short read. He talks about his life, talks about his regrets, talks about his son, who unfortunately passed away a year before he did. So that I learned the most as far as a parent, a black parent. I learned the most from his autobiography and Richard Williams' autobiography. It's about 300 pages, but it's definitely if you look at a black child, you need to read that book.
Wow. I definitely gotta take a look. Anything like closing that y'all might have for this one?
Educate ourselves. I agree. Educate ourselves. Look, learn. Right now, I mean, and even for people who don't like to read long books, right now I'm reading it's like a soulful book. So it's Meditations of the Heart by Howard Thurman. Like he was a African American who was very spiritual. He was the spiritual advisor to Martin Luther King. Yeah. And like I'm getting up every day and just worshiping. You know what I'm saying? But it's a different idea of just even seeing our people in these different lights and being able to just be inspired. So it's so much out here that we can just be tapping into. Do it for Black History Month. Do it for the culture. Right. Black History every day.
A good book I read is called Searching for Zion. It's by Emily Robichaud. And so she's basically going on this journey of figuring out where do black people call home? Like, what is their collective space? Like, all other cultures, all other ethnicities have somewhere where they belong except for African Americans, right? And so she goes to, like, Ethiopia, Jamaica. She visits like black Hebrews like in Israel, just figuring out where they call home and why. And it's a great book about just identity, the black experience across, multiple fronts. So I definitely highly recommend that one. It gets you thinking, and she's a great writer too. She writes in a way that's it's just like effortless to read. Like you just get through that thing and quickly. But overall though, for this discussion, it's important to realize that Black history does have a space within the greater American context, but we have to highlight it. It's going to be up to us, to sort of shed light on the importance, because if we don't, as you see in Texas, where they're stripping away aspects of what Black history is from their textbooks. And
most of our textbooks come from Texas.
Right. And so we don't fight for, these stories and show them our experience is valuable. It's going to be gone in a couple of generations. Like, no one's going to care. So it's kind of important that we really, continue to speak out about this and let people know, like, hey, first off, we're more than just a month. Our experience is powerful. It's built into the fabric of American culture, into the world culture. And so it's kind of up to us to continue to have that discussion and keep it moving forward. Anthony?
Yeah, I say, it's good to know your history so you can know where you're going. I mean, growing up, I never really understood that quote, but it is good to know, like, your past and where you originate from to know what your destination is, because it shows like what you can withstand in order to reach whatever goal you're trying to reach.
Man, you are absolutely right, man. Like, it kills me when people are like, well, all black people got to do is do this and it will be all right. And I'm like, motherfucker, we did that already. Right. Like, what is you talking about? Yeah. So, man, thank you for bringing up that point, because a lot of us, we don't know like where we've been. So like you think in 2019 the light bulb just went off in your head. Like you really done a disservice to your grandmother and all of their grandfather and all your other ancestors that were thinkers and doers. Long before you got here, and it just came down to you like, man, all we gotta do is start black business. Oh, we haven't done that already? All we gotta do is circulate our money and then
learning from our mistakes. Right. And I think that's our down. We never understand where we messed up at, and we keep doing the same thing.
All right, like and share. We'd like to welcome Kenya as our new co-host. Give feedback, give reviews, subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts.
Thank you.
And I gotta give a shout out to Phase 4. They down there Dilla Day.
Yeah.
Shout out to, and then all the kids down there, please enjoy. Use the DJ equipment. Don't tear it up.
Have a good one.